Plotting points and interval notation, that's what this video is about. Alright, so if you're going to plot a point, with -2, we always want to start with 0. And then we know that that's 1 and 2. And so, for negatives, that's in the opposite direction. -1, -2. And to plot the point, all you have to do is put a dot right on the value that corresponds to the one we're looking for. Okay? So here's a bunch of them for you to find. You have 5, -2.3, 5.6, 4.5, and -3 1/4. Hit pause and plot them where you think they should go. Some of these they're just going to be approximates on most of them. If you can get it exact, go for it. If you just want to approximate it, that's fine as well. Hit pause now. Okay, so here we go. So I've already given all the lines, and now let's see if we can check your answers. So make sure when you did do your graphs that all of these points are fairly equally spaced. You don't want to have, this is what a bad graph looks like. And then that's 0, 1, 2, 3. See, they're not really spaced. This is bad. You want to make sure it's nice and clean, and then they're fairly equally spaced. And then for 5, you just put a blue dot right on 5. That's it. -2.3, you would count -1, -2. And whenever you go in the negative direction, this is the way we go to make it smaller. So 2.3 is going to be between 2 and 3. So -2.3 is going to be between will be between -2 and -3. And it's closer to -2, so we put a dot right there. 5.6 is between 5 and 6, and it's past the halfway mark. So right there, 5.6. And then 4.5, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's between 4 and 5, and it's got to be dead center. So right there. Then -3 1/4, that's 1, -2, -3, -4, and that one will be closer to -3. And that's it for plotting points. We should technically label them, but since we're only putting one dot on there, we pretty much understand exactly what that value represents. Okay, next part is linear inequalities. And so what's happening here, these are one finite point. It's just one point only. These right here, we're going to have an infinite number of points. So they're going to get an inequality like this. So before we start, what we have is two different ones. We have less than and greater than. Then we have less than and equal to. Less than or equal to, and then we also have greater than or equal to. So we have to use a different symbol for each. So for the less than and greater than, we're going to use parentheses. For the less than and equal to and greater than equal to, we're going to use brackets. And what that does, well, you'll see it. So what we have is a 4, and we're not going to put all the points on there. We're just going to be graphing the set that's included here. So we put a 4 here, and then you read it. It says x is less than or equal to 4. Well, that's this direction. Now at the value itself, you're going to have less than or equal to, or you're going to have a less than or a greater than. If it has an equal to, that's when you get to use brackets. And this is what it should look like. You're shading all the points less, and then we put a little arrow here to represent that it's going to go on forever and ever and ever. And then we put a value here 4, because what's happening is we want all the points that are less than or equal to 4. So this bracket means that we actually have a value that is equal to 4. It's including 4. And interval notation, well, this would be -infinity because it's going to decrease forever. So you put -infinity as our first value, and then 4 as our last. This is interval notation. So up here, we have 1 point, 4.5, 2.3, 2. That's 1 point. Here we have an infinite number of points, and it's all the values between -infinity and 4. And we always put a parenthesis on -infinity and also on infinity. So let's look at another. So if you have -5, I'd say -5 is over here. And if you read it, x is greater than -5. So we shade in the greater. We want all the values that are greater than -5, like -1 and 0 and 1 and 7. But since this is not equal to -5, that's when we get to use a parenthesis. That represents not equal to. And so for the interval, this would be infinity. We always want two numbers. We're going to go from -5 to infinity. So that means all of the points that start at -5, but not including it, that's what the parenthesis means, and then all the way to infinity. So what this means is we're going to include not negative 5, but the next number, which would be like negative 4.999999999, right? That's the next value, and then all the way to infinity. Okay, let's look at one more. So we're at 0, and we're going to shade less, and then we put a parenthesis. Now, if you notice something, if x is on the left, we get a nice little coincidence. Look at the arrow. It's pointing to the left. This arrow is pointing to the right, and this arrow is pointing to the left. It's a nice coincidence. That only happens when x is on the right, on the left-hand side like this. It has to say x is less than 4, x is greater than negative 5, x is less than 0. It must say that. Okay, so we now know that this is negative infinity. So the interval is from negative infinity to 0 with a parenthesis on both. And that's the reason we use parentheses and brackets. It's a nice transition from the graph to the interval notation. So if you see an equal sign, you put a bracket at the value that we're starting. And if you see a less than or greater than, no equal sign, then you put a parenthesis. Okay, so here are some practice problems for you. There are 2 of them. Give them a shot. Hit pause and try them. And here are your answers. Hopefully you got them right. If not, take a look at them, rewatch the video. Thank you.